From the earliest times when man ventured from the land and onto the sea, man has had a fascination with its allure and vast expanse. With over 70% of the Earth's surface being water, great lakes, seas and oceans, water has been the natural barrier for man to conquer. For without victory over this, civilization as we know it will never have happened. Indeed, even with our advances in shipping and sailing, the seas and oceans are treated with great respect. Before the early adventurers and sailors set off on not much more than wooden rafts, there's always been the wonder of what awaits man on the other side. For many years, navigation was of great concern, not only because determining one's heading without the yet-to-be-invented compass was hard indeed, but overwhelmingly because of the belief the earth was flat. It was said that if one were to sail or venture too far, one will surely sail off the edge of the world. We may laugh at this now, back then it was in fact a serious concern, so much so that public uptake for this newfound sailing thingy was left predominantly to the military. Those brave burly men with beards and moustaches, God rest their souls, who kicked sand in the faces of lesser mortals, drank, fought, and chased the occasional village girl around town, were bribed with incentives from kings and queens, the usual gold, silver and booze, and more village girls to chase around than you could shake a spear at. Many agreed. This aside, it took a man of great confidence and bravery to take to the high seas, and in this early period of man's introduction to seafaring, he brought along much of man's hopes and fears, tales of far-off lands, and monsters to wreak havoc to ships and send men to watery graves. New frontiers and riches were one thing, but a more immediate concern to early sailors were tales of sea creatures, ancient, powerful, and of course dangerous. At the time man could take to the seas, he had also established long-held beliefs. Some of these beliefs were based on ancient tales which had been stamped steadfast in the minds of the generation. Much of these beliefs related to their religion. We know now that the Greeks had many gods, and much to fear of these gods. At one point, there were so many gods to pay allegiance to, a god for every conceivable issue one would have. No surprises then that those venturing out into the wild seas and oceans, threatening to sail off the edge of the earth, may take some of their beliefs with them. If a sailor carried out his works well, paid service to the gods, he may have a fruitful journey and a safe passage. But if the gods were angry through some displeasure or another, the opposite may also be true. During sailing in rough seas and calm weather, many sailors will see strange sights. It's worth mentioning here that these men were used to land, and had not seen many of the creatures that dwell within the deeper waters, so anything that differed from the usual local fish caught for food will be a marvel in their eyes. However, we cannot pass these experiences off simply to men unaccustomed to the variety of life in the oceans. Quite frequently, these sailors will report strange creatures, and usually of immense size. There were rumours of giant squid-like creatures, huge octopi, and strange things that sang in the night. But rarely has one of these been seen in the present day. However, in the last decade, there have been some unusual finds that seem to add credence to these ancient reports. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Many civilizations historically inherited from its predecessors. The Greek civilization was powerful, and as one would expect, their gods were also exported to other civilizations that it met. Sailors venturing out knew quite well of the Greek god Poseidon. Poseidon being one of the 12 Olympians in ancient Greek religion and myth. He was god of the sea and earthquakes as well as horses. Therefore, sailors venturing out were quite aware of not angering the god of the sea, for in his hand their fate was held, and the sea can be a very frightening place, as I can attest to, having had the unusual experience of living aboard a merchant vessel for about a year as a child, but I can leave that to another video sometime. Poseidon, brother to Zeus and Hades, was said to have supported the Greeks in the Trojan Wars in Homer's The Iliad, and was a protector of seafarers and many Hellenic cities and colonies. In addition, when he had some spare time, he was busy creating the odd island here and there. Provoking Poseidon was ill-advised, as the Greek hero Odysseus found out after he blinded Poseidon's son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. Poseidon was quick to punish Odysseus with furious storms, causing the loss of his ship and all its companions, ultimately delaying his journey by 10 years. Poseidon, just in case you did not know, was a god who held his favourite weapon in hand, the trident. He was also known for having a short temper. He who was depicted in the famous Jason and Argonaut's tale brought to film by Ray Harryhausen in 1963. Although Poseidon was married to his wife Amphitrite, a sea nymph, he was known to have sired many offspring from different partners. However, most of these ended up being monstrous half-breeds, including the famous Cyclops, who unfortunately ran into Odysseus. So, there you have it. A sailor's protection against the oceans and doom, or the cause of it, if you will, dependent on how Poseidon felt in the morning. Now, for the things one tries to protect against. The devils of the deep. You can take your pick, of course. After all, variety is the spice of life. From giant whales, like the one in Jonah's biblical account that swallowed him whole, or the famous white whale from Moby Dick. Then, there is a giant squid. Many thought this was a fisherman's tale until after years of searching, in 2012, a group of scientists from Japan's National Science Museum, along with colleagues from Japanese public broadcaster NHK and the Discovery Channel, filmed a giant squid in its natural habitat for the first time. The species was first recorded live in 2006, after researchers suspended bait beneath a research vessel off Ogasawara Island to try and hook a giant squid. As the camera whirred, the research team pulled a 24-foot, 7-metre squid to the surface, alive, enabling people around the world to finally see a living, breathing giant squid. The giant octopus, the most famous, the terrifying Kraken, somewhat depicted by Hollywood in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The English word Kraken is taken from Norwegian. In Norwegian, Kraken is definite from krak, a word defining an unhealthy animal or something. In modern German, krak, plural, and the declined singular, Kraken, means octopus, but can also refer to the legendary Kraken. Other related beasts were the Sirens, that seduced sailors to their doom. The Sirens were called the muses of the lower world. Classical scholar Walter Copeland Perry, 1814-1912, observed, their song, though irresistibly sweet, was no less sad than sweet, and lapped both body and soul in a fatal lethargy, the forerunner of death. Much of what we know as sea monsters have been relegated to folklore and drunken sailor tales, although in recent years some creatures have emerged that we had previously thought myth. Perhaps we can challenge the historical accounts by highlighting the common element to most of these, and as we've never seen creatures represented in such sizes today, we can put this down to drunken tales of sailors. However, we need to remember the general trend since recorded history has been for sizes of creatures to reduce. We have records and fossils of giant creatures that once roamed the earth. What caused this degeneration in scale is not fully understood, but the chances are it's a complex response to climate, food, and predation. Even in today's industrialised and technically advanced society, much of the great oceans are still unexplored. New things are being found every day. Who's to say that one day we will not encounter one of these titans of the deep?